Not only am I celebrating Black History Month, but also just recently celebrated being 2 years sober. I decided to go sober December 25th of 2021. Which tells you that I had a dope-ass Christmas in 2021. I gotta have that dope event to be like, I want to rethink my life choices. Yeah. Also, one thing that I celebrated recently, I just turned 32 years old. I just had a birthday. Yeah, I know 32 is still really, really young, but I'm already feeling the effects. Like, I noticed there's the difference between being 22 and 32. At 22, people are like, what are you gonna do with your life? And at 32, people are like, bitch, when are you gonna get a life? One thing you start to realize being a 30-something that listens to songs by 20-somethings, especially romantic songs, is that you realize that those songs are no longer about you. Like, yeah, you can fall in love, but now you have to stretch before sex. Celebrating my 32nd birthday, I did a show on my 32nd birthday. That was pretty cool. It reminded me of how I celebrated my 30th birthday. And I celebrated that birthday with the gift that keeps on giving. COVID. I had COVID on my 30th birthday. I had to spend the remainder of my 20s in quarantine. That sucks because I got the shots. I wore a mask, and I still got COVID. You know, it reminded me of the COVID deniers, the vaccine deniers who are like, oh, so you're vaccinated and you got the booster, but you still got COVID. I guess there's no difference between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. We both can still get COVID. Well, both myself and a white person can say the N-word. Results may vary. I don't usually talk about race during my set. Like, I probably should, but I don't usually talk about race. But one thing that I do like to talk about is coming from a Christian family on the south side of Chicago. Okay. I heard a lot. I'm not going to address it. I told you, I'm not the crowd work comedian. I get nervous. So much pressure. No, but I grew up on the south side of Chicago in a Christian family where my mother's a pastor and my father's a dick. One of those families. But I grew up believing that Jesus was black, and I still believe Jesus was black. It seems like some people who are dead set on white Jesus would only hang up a portrait of black Jesus with rope. I believe Jesus was black. I'm not saying Jesus existed. Let's not get carried away. What I'm saying is, if Jesus did exist, Jesus was black. And here's how I know. Number one, he was a carpenter. He made a living doing things for people's houses that they thought they were too good to do for themselves. So we know he was at least Latino. Number two, the man was naturally muscular. He was swole. That's something a white boy can't do on his own without exercise. And number three, he paid for crimes he didn't commit. Then again, you can't argue that he was white because he got off 3 days later. I love telling that bit so that all the white people's assholes just, you know. Especially white guys. I love interactions with white guys. They're interesting. They're peculiar. I had this one interaction with a white guy after my set. You know, I did a set about being transgender, and if you haven't already been able to tell, surprise. You know. I know I'm so brave, all right. But this one white guy came up to me after my set, and he wanted to address me. He was like, all right, I get it. Transgender women are women. But you know what? When I'm looking at a woman, I want her to have a certain anatomy, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I get it. Cisgender, heterosexual people are nervous about hooking up with transgender women. And I had some advice for him as well as for anyone else who's nervous about hooking up with a transgender woman. If you are to hook up with the transgender woman, then before anything happens, kindly yet firmly ask her to take her penis off and put it in her pocket. The joke's on him. She won't have pockets. I like interactions with black guys, too. It's usually all the same. You know, hey, man, I don't care if you're gay or not, as long as you don't like me. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, you look like an onion. Shut the fuck up. My least favorite interactions are with white women. They're the most supportive. They're also the most annoying. They come up to, one white woman came up to me after a set and like, hey, I just want to say, I think you are so brave. I am woke. And I thought about being transgender too. Do the people of India go up to the cows? No, they praise the cows from afar. Just let me eat grass and block traffic. That's what I want to do with my life. I have faced some hardship being me, you know, being black and trans. And I feel in this audience, we all have had some discrimination or some sort of hardship just for being who we are. You know, that's a part of life. And I realize that. But me being black and trans, I've dealt with some financial hardship. And what happened there was that I decided to go into sex work. And I told my family about it, and they were like, you know, you shouldn't do it because it's beneath you. Confused me because I'm definitely not a top. I think I'm passing as a really pretty trans woman or a really ugly girl who's not trans at all. It's one of the two, and I can't decide which one. But whenever I'm mistaken for not being transgender, I got to accept that because that can mean my safety. And I noticed this especially one day when I got into a cab, and the driver turned to me and said, "You woman?" And I wanted to match his energy, and I said, "I woman." Not even 10 seconds into the ride, he said, "You married?" Now, it's only recently that I've been accepted and respected as a woman who's not transgender. I did not know the proper channels to this. I did not know that your answer to this question, regardless of your situation, is always, say with me now. And I said no. You got a boyfriend? What a perfect gentleman. He gave me a second chance to get it right. And I still said no. Well, maybe you haven't found the right guy yet. Maybe you need more dick in your life. I don't even want the one I have now. Then he tries this on me. Tell you what, baby, why don't you and me go on a 20-minute date? Then he pulled over. Color me suspicious. But I think 20 minutes is quite ambitious for a guy who couldn't wait 5 seconds for an answer. Just like anyone else in this situation, I'm like, no, I've had enough. Get me out of this car. I don't want to do this. Have a good night. He unlocks the car. I go to get out. And I'm on way out. He says, have a good night, baby. And then I let him have it. I said, thank you, sir. And I ran away. You've been fantastic. Happy Friday. Thank you. I'm KJ Whitehead.